following this explosive report by the Times, there is more spinning happening than Baryshnikov in a ballet. So let me give you Trump's spin. He says the following via Twitter, of course. Real estate developers in the 1980s and 1990s, more than 30 years ago, were entitled to massive write-offs and depreciation, which would, if one was actively building, show losses and tax losses in almost all cases. Much was non-monetary, sometimes considered tax shelter. You would get it by building or even buying. You always wanted to show losses for tax purposes. Almost all real estate developers did, and often renegotiate with banks. It was sport, he says. Additionally, the very old information put out is a highly inaccurate fake news hit job. Okay.
Well, which one is it?
Exactly.
Did you do the tax shelter or is it a fake news hit job?
And also, are those casinos still around?
Oh, no, right, they all went bankrupt.
Oh,
that's interesting, huh? Well, if it was a tax shelter, you shelter your profits and you continue to make them. You can't continue to make money from a casino that is shut down because your loser ass bankrupted it.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's the reality of it. And again, your best case scenario here is a Republican president say, yeah, since I'm rich, I get to do tax shelters and I don't pay taxes like you stupid average guy, for paying taxes while I pay nothing. Absolute best case scenario, but the reality is, of course, that's an excuse. In fact, I'll give you a sense of that. He mentions depreciation a lot. He says, oh yeah, in real estate you have depreciation and it's magical. And yes, depreciation does help with your taxes, but as the New York Times points out, even in an example that he gave in Art of the Deal, which by the way, he wrote in 1987, while he's bleeding out and he's a disaster, he writes a book about, oh, I'm such a great person in making deals. And he knows in reality, every one of his deals has lost money except one. But he still has the temerity to write a book about how awesome he is at deal making, right?
Of course he does have that temerity.
Yeah, which is gonna get to his strength in a second. But he's losing all that money and he says, oh no, it's okay, I'm doing depreciation. But in the Art of the Deal, he talks about, gives an example, and it shows, which is common, the depreciation is about 4%. $1 billion in losses ain't 4%. Okay, you can do the math on his assets, you can do the math on how much money he lost, and it ain't anywhere near 4%. This is not normal depreciation. That would be a much, much smaller number. It would be a fraction of this. So I did promise you one thing about what he is good at. After reading this whole thing, I thought, maybe I've been a little unfair to him.
Come on.
I often say he's a buffoon, a serial bungler, all the things that you've heard me say, loser, etc. Have I said enough? Okay, but he is actually good at one thing.
Lying?
Kind of, yes, largely. He is actually a world-class con man. So con man and a grifter, they shuffle the cards around and until you don't know what's under what cards, you don't know what that's why he wanted to hide his tax returns. And he did keep moving the ball along, and he would go and do this over-the-top marketing while knowing that there's nothing behind that facade. And it does take some guts to go out there full well knowing what a loser you are and claim you're the biggest winner there ever was. And to write a book about what a great winner you are. And to fail so miserably in school that you have to hide your grades and threaten lawsuits and criminal action against former principals if they reveal your grades, to be that dumb and unaccomplished in school, but to yet start Trump University, as if you know everything. And what was Trump University? A scam. Another thing that's revealed in Texas, he's like, oh, don't give so much money to charity. It turns out in those 10 years, gave almost nothing to charity. Of course! And that's what actually triggered it for me. I'm like, you know what? He tricked a whole half the country into believing that he's a successful businessman, that he is a strong leader when he's so obviously deeply insecure, and all the other things that he tricked them into. And to this day, they all go around and go, yeah, you're losing $1 billion, it's great. Our leader is so smart, what a great businessman. Man, the way he lost that $1 billion was genius, right? Well, you know what, you gotta hand it to him. That's a hell of a con man. To be that incompetent, that much of a loser, and yet convince other people that you're a big winner. So I do congratulate him on that.
Well, it shows the failure of the media. Remember, the New York Times had famously written that profile on him decades ago, making him out to be some, sex symbol in New York, and he's the most successful man ever. I mean, it shows you the failure of the media dates back decades ago, because it's not enough to just take someone's words at face value. Is he really successful? Now, there was some suspicion that he was actually bleeding out, right? But the way that he was written about did not reflect that. And more importantly, I always ask myself, does Donald Trump, has he convinced himself, has he persuaded himself that he's this big success? Because I think in order to successfully convince the world, you have to somehow believe it yourself. And then I remember how incredibly thin-skinned he is and how sensitive he is to anything and everything. And look, the best part about becoming wealthy is, yes, the economic stability, right? But I would argue the best part is that you have the resources and you have the FU money to do whatever you want and not let people get under your skin. But Trump lets people get under his skin all day, every day. That is his #1 emotion, being triggered.
Yeah, and he reveals it in his text. He often ends the text with sad. Back in the day when he was running for president, he would also add baby. Like he'd be sad, baby. What a weird thing for a grown-ass man to write. I mean, at that point, he's almost 70, I believe, as he was running for president. And he's writing sad baby with exclamation points on his Twitter. Why? As I've speculated before, but as you've seen, a lot of my speculation has come out to be exactly right. Probably that's what his dad called him. And the tax returns also show, again, his dad bails him out on several occasions. So when he's up against the wall and he's got no money left, he goes, "Daddy, I screwed up again." And that's part of why his dad gave him $413 million. And in fact, he then got onto the richest people in America list by pretending his dad's money was his own money.
That's right.
Oh, that's so sad, baby.
Thanks for watching this free clip of the Young Turks. Don't forget to become a TYT member today. For more exclusive content, join now at tyt.com/join.